Welcome again to another Unabridged Gamer interview. Today I'm sitting down with Vince Fennel, the producer and one of the designers behind Bierzerkers. How you doing, Vince?
I'm doing well. It's actually Vince Fennel.
Oh, Fennel. Sorry.
No worries, that's okay. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm pretty good. For those who don't know, what is Bierzerkers?
Bierzerkers is a game set in the Viking afterlife about drinking and fighting, essentially. It's a 5v5 multiplayer melee brawler.
Yeah, that's one of the things that surprised me the most was that it's a brawling shooter, and that's been coming up a lot more recently. Is that you're finally starting to see those crossbreeds? Like first there's Warhammer 40k Space Marine, now there's all of those. I'm curious though, what inspired Berserkers specifically? Because on your blog you mentioned chivalry and stuff like that, but what really made you have the linchpin for let's have Vikings drinking beer and having needler blades in the scout and stuff like that?
Well, it sprung from a desire to make a competitive game, really. And when we started the studio, we felt like the shooter space would just be too hard for us to break into. There's a lot of competition there. There's a lot of really, really good games already. And we thought, hey, well, there aren't a lot of great melee multiplayer games out there yet. So the idea to make a melee game sort of sprung from that. And then the theme with the Vikings sprung from the idea that we knew we didn't want the game to take itself too seriously. And so we were sort of spitballing different thoughts and ideas, and Vikings came to mind. I mean, obviously, who doesn't like Vikings? They're really, really just heavily romanticized in the media, and just everyone loves Vikings and everything about them. So we said, okay, well, that sounds like a good theme. It sounds like something we could work with because we wanted to also do a lot of abilities and sort of over the top stuff with the game. And the way it came about was hey, let's do it with the Vikings, but let's kind of have them laughing at themselves, take it way over the top, take all the stereotypes out there that have kind of been portrayed about them. You know, the horned helmets and the excessive drinking and
Yeah.
whatnot, and just crank it up to 11 essentially.
hmm Now, that brings to mind another question was it always going to be third person, or did you at all ever consider first person?
No, so actually it was first person for a long time. So it was it's been in development for about 18, 19 months now, and the first half of development, essentially, the game was first person. So the first time we showed the game publicly was at PAX 2014, PAX Prime 2014, and about 3 weeks before that show, the first time we were going to show the game to anybody, really, we were still in first person, and one of our designers popped the camera out and said, "Hey, I just want to play around with it in third person and see how it feels." And so we did a play test with it in third person, and immediately knew unanimously, "Oh my god, we have to go into third person." It just felt so much better. There's so many things about third person that really help you know what's going on, and a lot of different interesting aspects to it that made it work. So we had to scramble very quickly to get it ready and in decent shape at PAX Prime that year. And actually, we had a button to switch between first and third in that version of the
Oh,
game. So,
nice.
yeah, some of the people were playing in first at the show, which was fun.
Hey, very interesting. Yeah, and you've kept a very open thing with the community. You've shown a full content roadmap that everybody can see, and you've explained your plans for the game. How has the response been to that, and to the current build of the game that's out right now in the public?
Um, well, I'll take the second question first. So the response to the build and the game that's out there, the early access version that's out there now, has been really positive. We're hovering around 90% positive Steam reviews, which we're really pleased with, and it really inspires us to keep making those features and keep making things better. The open development policy has been something that we've embraced throughout the entire span of our development. We used to stream the game, playtests of the game, really, really early. Even when it was first person, we had some streams from way back when. And it's just something that we feel like, having worked at AAA studios before, we never really got to do that. We never really got to give people that window to what it takes to make a game and what we're thinking about and what could happen. So we thought that would be a fun way for us to just engage with the people who are interested in that. And the response to the roadmap has been really positive so far. People generally seem to like the things that we're targeting. There have been some suggestions that we're contemplating as well from the community, and yeah, it's been really really good positive response to that.
Excellent. And what motivated your team to take your game to early access? Because by comparison to most early access titles, you're very far along, and you've got a very aggressive and short scheduled time for being making it to a full release. Because normally it's like, oh, we'll get it done in 1 to 2 years. You're like, nah, we're gonna do it in 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, we're that's a target. We may or may not hit it. We really want to hit it. It's important to us to ship stuff. We like shipping things, and early access was sort of always in our plan because it's part of that open development thing. We wanted to let people in, and we wanted to get people playing the game early so that we knew if things were working or things weren't working, or if we had to make changes. It's possible in our early access phase that we make some drastic changes to the game and radically change some stuff. And we want people to know that. We want people to be a part of that. And we want to communicate that stuff. So it's to us, we're making a multiplayer game. So you need people. We need people to be playing it and letting us know how it feels, how it looks. And so early access was a really great avenue for us to explore that development process.
And actually, speaking of influence and the features on the roadmap, one of the features your fans are most eager for is the armory, which will be letting players modify their loadouts. How heavily are we going to be able to customize the characters, and will there be ways to just like change the different aesthetics while keeping the same gear?
Um, so we have a few slots per character that will be interchangeable with items. So the one that all the characters will definitely have is weapons. So uh, you can see that now in the versions of the game. It's just not very well portrayed in the UI. But what's happening right now is we have a really basic progression system in there that's kind of just bare bones, just stuff happening. It's not really robust. But as you do level up characters, they get new stuff, and they'll get equipped with new gear. And you'll see that happen as you play the game. What the customization system that we're working on will do is actually allow you to pick and choose which of those things you really want in the character. Each character has different slots, though, so it's not like the same thing for every single one. They will all have interchangeable weapons, but different characters will have different things. So the drunkard, for example, uses a keg a lot. He has a big wooden keg. It's at the end of his hammer. He uses it to shoot beer lasers at people to heal them. And he also can place it down on the ground to make a little AoE healing thing. So we thought, hey, why not just have his keg be something that he could customize? You can unlock new ones and pick which one you like the best. So that's an example for him that doesn't really apply to the raider, who has a sword and a shield, and a helmet and a shoulder pad. And so those are the slots for him that he'll be able to change. But the huntress doesn't have a shoulder pad, so we have different things on different characters that take advantage of that. And then to answer your question aesthetically, I think, do you mean like can you pick your favorite weapon and then modify that weapon itself?
Yeah, like basically being able to swap out skins because there's certain multiplayer games that do that where people will just they'll want a different skin for the same gun. That was actually kind of a popular thing sometimes with like Team Fortress 2 and similar games like that. And Counter Strike Go definitely.
Right. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. That's not planned for the current round of customization. I could see us going down that road, though. It seems like a natural progression to dive deeper into that stuff. We do like TF2 a lot. It's very influential for us, and having strange weapons and whatnot are it's a really cool way to really let people express themselves through that stuff. So it's definitely something I could see us exploring. It is not planned in the current version of customization. Though we're working on the basics of
Yeah.
that system right now, and we're really excited. Actually, I saw some stuff get into the build yesterday that I'm excited about. So progress on that's going really well right now.
I was reading that update. The all the pink ramps are going to be gone. It'll never be the same.
Yeah. The pink ramps are so stylish update. Yeah, that was a big bug. Our big bug fix update. We're actually working on another smaller one now to add a couple little things to the key bindings that aren't quite how we like them yet. And then after that, we're going to be totally focused on content. We've got most of the team focused on content already. There's actually just one person right now, kind of wrapping up
Hmm.
the last 0.5 version, and then we'll be working full time 0.6 and working our butts off to try to get stuff in there, more stuff in there, and get feedback from people. It's been exciting to see the response, like I mentioned earlier.
Well, there is one more question I actually do have to ask in relation to the armory, though, because it's something that
Sure.
you can see in the preview image for that. And you mentioned there's a market button. So, speaking of that influence from Team Fortress 2, is there a chance there'll be a workshop sort of thing like with Team Fortress 2, potential for players to actually make items?
Uh, there, there is definitely a chance. The only thing that would hold us back from that is just our own time and resources. It's something we all would really like to do, and we're really excited about, and we love what people do with that in the Valve games and in Skyrim. Being able to add your stuff through the workshop, I think, is awesome. So it's not a core feature of the game, but it's something that we do really, really want to do. So when we do get the resources to tackle that, we will be tackling it.
Now, on a less heavy topic, but something I am genuinely very curious about, where do you get all the wonderfully silly puns? Because I noticed at least one Batman Robin line for the Huntress, and you have cited both Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone as inspirations for the Raider, and it's like they have so I still was encountering new ones by the time I wrapped up my preview of the game. It was like how many of them are there? And it just made me laugh. That's all.
Yeah, we kind of take. I'm starting to call this the Mel Brooks approach, where every chance we get, we're trying to tell a joke, and there's a lot of pop culture references. There's a lot of movie references. We're not holding back on that stuff, and some people love it. Some people hate it. Some people love some of it. Some people hate some of it. We've seen a lot of different responses across the board to that, and we're totally okay with all of that. We just like to think of funny stuff to put in the game, and then we have a good time doing the temp audio ourselves and throwing it in there, and then once we get around to getting more serious voice actors in there to record lines, it's kind of fun to have them do those too. So that's just us having fun and kind of expressing our humor with the game. Like I mentioned earlier, we don't want it to take itself too seriously. We don't want to take it too seriously. So part of having fun with that is just throwing all the ridiculous references we can in there that are sort of inspirational to the character, or that are just kind of corny and over the top. We just do that too sometimes. Yeah, the Raider's got some great stuff in there. He's got a Macho Man reference in there somewhere. And he's probably my favorite right now. His stuff is really, really funny. I crack up
Yeah.
whenever I play him.
Now, as one of the project's designers and its producer, you have to both help dream up the game and think of all these ideas, but you'll also have to scale it back down when you need to, because as a producer, you got to make sure the product comes out at the end. It needs to be good, it needs to make sense, it needs to fit. How do you handle balancing and working both sides of that?
I go a little crazy every day. I lose a tiny piece of my soul. No, what I do is on the design side, I try not to get too involved with a lot of the decisions. So the way that I approach my design work for the game is sort of more of the integration technical side of it, where okay, we already have a feature we know we want to do, so hey, I'll take that one, I'll implement that feature, or I'll work on that feature, um, and that's what I enjoy doing. I actually really like being in the engine and working on with the visual scripting system, or doing a little light code work here and there if necessary. Um, that's what I like doing. So I use that outlet for that, and then sort of when it comes to decision making stuff, I almost always am wearing my producer hat, because I think that's what the team needs more than anything out of me for that particular role. So that's what I try to do is, and the way I approach that is very much to just keep everything moving forward. So I I try to just make decisions or get people to make decisions so that we're constantly moving forward. We're a small team, and the project has gotten probably more ambitious than we would like it to be. So I think it's important that we're always moving forward, even if it's like in a little tiny way on each thing. I'd rather kind of make a decision, keep going, than sort of stall out.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a good thing to hear because a lot that's happened with a couple of early access games recently is that they've had that stalling out problem. So it's good to hear that you guys are keeping it on the fast track.
That's the idea. A lot of the team has worked at studios that had a hard time shipping games, or would hold them back, and not without good reason. They definitely had good reasons for doing that, but we kind of one of our goals with this studio was to ship stuff, get stuff out there, get people playing it, get feedback, be open, be fast, be agile, to use a cliche, I guess. But we're trying to embody that because we think it's kind of more fun to make games that way, and we think that the end result will be just as good, if not better, using that approach.
Yeah, definitely. Now, actually, speaking to the game's ambitions, in addition to the normal competitive multiplayer, which has domination and team deathmatch, you also have a very brief challenge mode that pits players against endless waves of zombies. Now, will we be seeing any other type of solo or cooperative content to go along with the game down the road, potentially?
We are discussing that now, actually. That's something that me and Will, our lead designer, are sort of starting to think about a little bit. So we're excited about some of the potential ideas there. And that survival mode that's in there now is something that I kind of whipped together pretty quickly because we already had a lot of other systems in place to support it. So um, we had the zombies because we wanted them to be our enemies for our tutorial. So that kind of came out of the tutorial. We wanted to teach people how to play the game, and
Yes.
that was sort of a natural. We said, hey, well, if they're going to be fighting stuff, we kind of want it to be easy in the tutorial so that they can learn how to play the game without having to fight other people. And so we said, okay, well, let's just make some kind of easy to fight Viking zombies. And once they got in there and started to get art, it just looked so good and felt so good. We were like, okay, I just kind of took some of the AI that had already been written and stuff that the other guys had made, and I said, hey, why don't I just make a little arena and just start spawning them in and give them some random properties and stuff, and just let people play around with that. So it's not very robust right now. We have a lot of thoughts and ideas about how to make it better and more fun and engaging. It really only is kind of balanced for the raider. The other classes have various issues in survival mode, but we decided to leave them in there because we thought it would be a good way for people to try out the other classes without having to be in an online environment. So that's kind of a good little training ground to get used to classes
Oh yeah,
abilities.
that's actually how I familiarized myself with every single class. I played through all of them in there first before I even went online.
Cool. Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's what we were intending for that to be like, and we've seen some funny stuff come out of it. We knew the drunkard would be pretty broken for survival because he can heal himself, and the zombies aren't that fast, so that they don't do a good job of preventing you from using those things. So we're like, all right, well, the drunkard's kind of broken, but you know what? Who cares? Let's just throw it in there. It's early access. Let people play around with it. And on the first day we launched, we saw people got like over 1,000 kills with the drunkard in survival mode, and they were posting screenshots of it in our Steam page and stuff. So we thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, it becomes more of a test of your patience and will than it actually does of like your skill in the game at a certain point. So it's kind of fun.
My goodness, yeah, that whoever did that is very, very patient.
Yeah.
All right, I know this is an odd question, but will the sheep, who've been featured several times in the game's art, actually factor into the game at all? Like, are they going to be used as the flags and capture the flag or something? Because they seem surprisingly prominent in some things. On the front page, when you load it up, it's like there's sheep arrayed all around. So it's like, are these going to pop in on something? Because it feels like a hint.
Yeah, the sheep have always been around. It's kind of an early joke that our animator was making that we wanted sheep everywhere at our lead designer. So we were sprinkling them around in various things and in the art. There are a few sheep in the level we would show at PAX and various other shows we've been to. That level, it's a good level and it's arted up and looks nice and feels good. Is not in the early access right now simply because it's too small for 5v5. It's a really really small level. It's made for 1v1 or 2v2.
Wow. Yeah, that's funny.
And yeah, so we need to think about how we want to use that. But there's a few sheep in there, and then I think that's the only reference right now. We actually had a playable sheep for a while, which was pretty fun. You could run around and bite people. If you do some internet digging, you might be able to find a video out there somewhere with that. I'm not sure if it actually exists anymore. But what's happening now with sheep is so one of the big features we're working on right now is a new class called the Highlander. He's a Scottish guy, as you can imagine. He wears a kilt and uses a big, huge sword. And he's kind of inspired by Braveheart and the Groundskeeper from The Simpsons and other prominent Scottish pop culture references. And we're thinking that the sheep will be a part of his kit somehow. So that's where it's at right now. And we'll use it more in the future too. we really like the sheep, so they'll be.
All right. And on a more personal question, what's your favorite class right now?
Right now, my favorite class is the Huntress. I'm having a lot of fun with her, and she's actually a class that I was not very fond of for most of development, but lately I find myself playing the Huntress more and more. And it's not because she's ranged, but it's because I like kicking people off of cliffs. It's like my favorite thing to do. So I try to trap people near ledges and cliffs, and then kick them into it with her kick ability. That's kind of like the way I get my jollies right now.
It's a very "This is Sparta" moment.
Yeah, actually, that would be a good line for her.
Yeah.
We should put that in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually like the Huntress a lot, and I'm also really digging the Valkyries. So it's actually the female characters that I'm having the most fun with.
All right. Well, we've got a little more time here at the end. So, would you like to ask me or my audience a question?
I'll ask you a question. It's the question that I like to ask people when I meet them and we're talking about games. What's your favorite game? And it
Hmm.
doesn't have. I'm not necessarily saying your favorite game right now. I'm saying sort of what is the game that's impacted you the most, or just that you have the best memories of, even if you're not playing it now.
Yeah,
Would you call out there?
it's a tie actually.
All right, awesome.
Dead Space 2 and BioShock 2 actually.
Oh wow, interesting.
Yeah. BioShock 2 impacted me a while back because it was what kind of, just was like I actually was surprised to find myself liking it a lot more than I was led to believe, and everything about it just was really good. And it also was a great example of the community being treated right, because on PC version at first it looked like they weren't going to get the downloadable content and everything, and you had to deal with games for Windows Live, and 2K Marin went above and beyond, and 2K itself and Digital Extreme, they all just went above and beyond. Great sports bet. In Dead Space 2's case, it was like back when I was actually trying to get started as an indie developer before I got into the game journalism side of things.
Mm-hmm.
I pretty much it was like I spent so many playthroughs dissecting that thing because it was just like the weapon systems, the progression, the different enemy
So
designs.
it's really inspirational game for
Oh
you.
yeah, that one. When I think of what does deep combat feel like, it's usually either Dark Souls or Dead Space that I immediately think of.
Yeah, yeah. I love the Dead Space. What they do with their UI and kind of make it
Oh yeah,
a
that's
part of the world.
fantastic.
Yeah, it's really really neat. I thought that was a really cool way to handle that, and really enjoyed that.
All right. Well, thank you for your time today, Vince.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And where can my audience find you on Twitter?
I'm at Vince Fennel on Twitter, and the studio is at Shield_Break on Twitter. And you can follow us there to just get the latest on what's going on. We post regular devlogs on our website, and we're very active in our Steam forums and our subreddit. So if you want to check that out, you can, and we'll get back to you.
And for my preview of Berserkers, click on this annotation that is likely hanging over my head right now that I will add in post. All right. You have a great day, Vince.
Thanks, you too. Take it easy.
Cheers.